Hello, and welcome to Focus on Parliament. In a country where every voice matters, where dreams and hopes of millions are entrusted in their elected leaders, it's crucial to ask, are our members of Parliament representing us to the best of their competencies? Are they trying as much as they possibly should to ensure better livelihood for every Ugandan? And where there is abdication and dereliction of duty, to ask what can the citizens of Uganda do to hold the members of Parliament accountable? On this episode of Focus on Parliament, we take a look at a vice that has afflicted our Parliament for quite some time now. It has now become a perennial problem of absenteeism. We shall also assess the performance of the Parliament for their second session based on a study by the Hansard Department and the New Vision. And then we shall also look briefly at the efforts by Parliament to curb the rising fuel prices. I am your host, Harris Ocampo, and today in studios I have incredible women. I'm very sure you're going to be impressed. On my immediate left is Dr. Hannah Muze, who is the Executive Director at Center for Policy Analysis. Dr. Hannah Muze, you're most welcome.
Good morning, Harris, and it's good to be here. Thank you.
How is the Center for Policy Analysis?
It's doing good. Doing good, yeah, and still carrying on with the mandate, using our initiative of Parliament Watch to create an open parliament, opening up parliament to the citizenry.
Yeah, I must say it's incredible work that you do at Parliament Watch.
Yes.
Myself, I'm a follower, and I must say it's incredible work
Thank you.
keeping Ugandans up to date with what's happening with their parliament.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Next is Honorable Rose Obiga, who is the woman member of Parliament for Terego District. Honorable Obiga, good morning and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Harris. My name is Obiga.
Obiga.
Yeah, many people know that. Yeah, it's my late dad's name. I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you so much. Good night.
How are the good people of Terego District?
They are doing well.
Very hospitable people. I've been there, and incredible people there.
Currently, we're doing tree planting.
Yeah.
Every homestead must have an orchard and do timber. And the branches are given to women to cook. And we are also doing institutions. So they are very busy. I don't have to start moving around the community now. Yeah, rains have started too. Yeah.
All right, I should like to just go once more.
We'll go.
Well, let's go direct into the show. And I would like to begin with you, Honorable. This week we saw in Parliament the Speaker adjourning the House. The reason she gave is that none of the 82 ministers attended the plenary. And she was very bitter, actually. I would like to quote her. She says, Rule 114 of the Rules of Procedure requires ministers to attend sittings of the House, and where one is unable to attend, he or she shall request another minister to represent that ministry's interest in the House and notify the Speaker accordingly. The failure of some ministers to regularly attend and participate in House business is abdication of responsibility and breach of public trust. This is a serious condemnation upon the ministers. What exactly is happening between the executive and the legislature? Is there any friction?
Well, that day, I remember I came to the House 30 minutes early. I was seated there, and it's true, there was no single minister on the front bench. I wouldn't like to speak for the ministers because they know time is money. Time is an essence in Parliament and in their work. Out of 82, there was none. There was none. and they maybe if one or two had their desks busy, others were saying it's a jam issue. Really? Yeah, if you know that there is jam, don't you start early? And for them, they have lead cars, they have escorts who are able to clear the way. So the speaker had said she was going to contact the executive, especially the president, and have a meeting with him. So she adjourned the house, and now she has also adjourned the house Sunday. So I don't know, maybe she wants to use this time so that they can discuss. It has not been once. I remember there's also a time when ministers were all not there. So at times, crucial issues come on the floor. There's nobody to respond to the particular issue. So to me, it's not good. Although there are also many members of parliament who don't attend. I don't speak for them. I speak for myself. I attend regularly. But it's not fair. It's not good to this country, especially at this time when the country is going through a lot. The ministers should be there readily to respond to issues that come from the floor of parliament. And on that day, we had so many issues on the order paper, especially in the area of national importance, issues that concern national importance. So that is it. I hope Muze had told us he's not looking for PhD holders, he's not looking for other people, but he wanted fishermen. But now in a situation where the fisherman cannot catch a single fish, not even a mukene. If there's no mukene in your net now, what makes you a fisherman? Really?
Maybe he needs to revise that. And maybe
but of course the power is with him. For us, we are the backbenchers. We okay. We always.
But truly, I mean, and I like the fact that you pointed out the fact that this was not a single occurrence. It's been taking place, and it's even clear from the speaker's statement that they regularly miss plenary. What do you think is behind this kind of practice?
I can't really explain it so well. They're in a better position to explain. But what I heard and read, now when we came out, a few ministers ran in after the speaker saying now she's going to adjourn and reach the president. Definitely in their offices, they have screens. Others saw, they started driving in and so forth. But I heard them saying we have a challenge of traffic jam. Others were saying I had a small meeting. You know, it's good to arrange your priorities. What matters? Why are you a minister? By the way, in that house, you must know how to juggle.
Exactly.
In a day, you can have 8 meetings. For me, I go by who called me first. Today, I should have been in a radio station. But I said, no, Civic Space TV called me. I'm sorry, I can't go. And at the same time, you can have so many at the same time. You can be so plenty in parliament and you are nowhere. There are members who will be there in parliament and not attend committee meeting. Now, when they say there is benchmarking or you are traveling because you have attended committee meetings, they start, no, we are never favored. People have been favored. Can you imagine? Up to parliament, if you start thinking like this, then what are you doing there?
What frustrates me as a citizen, and I imagine it's the same with our viewers, is this whole vice of disrespect for time, especially when it is reflected at that level of responsibility. I mean, it's common within our society for, an LC1 chairperson to call a meeting at 5 and people take it for 6 for weddings. They call reception for midday, people turn up at 4. You go to lecture rooms, the lecturer says the class begins at 8 and he comes at 9. And now when you see parliament, which is supposed to be the leader, also acting this way, then the viewers and a prudent Ugandan would like to know, where is the starting point for changing this kind of a culture? Because I think it's eaten us up and it's affecting us in terms of our productivity, our efficiency, and all that.
You see, for me, as a person, I do not believe in collective responsibility occasionally, especially when it comes to time. Many times I find myself alone in the committee room. I find myself alone in a meeting. At times I think I have had a problem with my car. I find others have not even arrived. But I never have a second thought, no. Yesterday I came at this time and others were not there, so tomorrow let me delay. No. Once I have put my mind on a particular thing, I will remain focused. That's why you see, if I have a challenge, I call. As I have this challenge, this is it. I think it's a personal weakness, and every MP, every minister should be responsible for this.
Indeed.
Yeah, they should not say it's a Ugandan culture, therefore in lecture rooms people are late, in funerals. No, in Terego, when I say I'm coming at night, 9 a.m., the people of Terego know by 9 she'll be there.
Incredible.
I will try my level best and be there. And I make sure the right names. The first names that were there when I was talking, I paid them off.
Wow.
After paying them off, if you come late now to pick allowance, or I really make sure whatever I've come to do, I sort it with these ones.
Interesting.
By the time you come late, honestly, you'll pick bonds. So they have also known this. They keep time. Yeah, I tell them, you are the one who have invited me. Please, I'll come at this time. Let me not come and I don't find you, because I would have crushed a number of things to be there. You really must be workaholic in that parliament. When people say, hey, members of parliament are eating money for nothing, I actually don't understand what they're saying. Because every day you have a heap of documents to read through, analyze, take notes. Every day, others are pushed in a soft copy, others are hard copy. You can't believe.
Indeed.
Yeah, so it can't be a Ugandan issue. It's a personal problem. So they will be able to maybe adjust, because now this is the second or third time they are adjusting. They have failed to adjust and they're journeying the house. It's not good, really. It's not good.
Dr. Muze, I would like you to weigh in on the same issue of timekeeping and the whole culture of how business is conducted in this country. Our culture around time management. I'm following up on this because it's a personal issue to me. It's one of those issues that I believe hold us back as a people.
Thank you, Harris. Definitely so. I mean, you just mentioned it. I think it's probably referred to as Ugandan time. That even when you call someone and you tell them the meeting starts at 8, they ask you, is that Ugandan time or the official time that the meeting is supposed to begin? So people take it for granted that if a meeting begins at 8, they should show up at 9. If there's a wedding party that begins at 12, then they'll probably start at 2 o'clock. And obviously, yes, that is... It definitely speaks to the overall productivity of a nation.
Exactly.
Because, again, like Honorable said, time is money.
Exactly.
And if you don't show up when you're supposed to show up, then that means there are a lot of other events that are going to be left undone. And of course, that also speaks to the work ethic, of Ugandans per se. I mean, we just had sort of like someone was talking about an issue that they had to do with the, sort of debt collection and doing business with government. And you find that they attempted to make a case for why they could actually pay the money when they needed to pay it, but because it was a government entity, they didn't seem not to buy the idea and told them, no, if you don't have the cash now, we can do business with you. And yet you have done business with this organization before.
Yeah.
And so the question is, if that was a private entity, would they have let that money go, right? But because it's a government entity, you begin to think and wonder, like, if that's the kind of laissez-faire,
the standard of,
you know,
of care when it comes,
yes, if you're promoting a laissez-faire attitude with how we handle, you know, resources, then obviously that is going to translate into a lot of other activities. And again, just to pick up on something that, you know, Honorable said about what the president said, that he was looking for fishermen and not people who have PhDs or masters or something like that. One other thing we also need to, I think, reflect on is that our leaders and our representatives come from the people.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, they are a mirror of the people.
That's critical.
But then again, this report and the way it was released is also very important for the citizens to know what is actually happening in Parliament. Because you may not see your leader in your constituents, and so they keep telling you, oh, we're in Parliament, we're making laws on your behalf, we have to be there all the time. And then when the report comes out, wait, where is this guy? So the citizens should be asking, where is this guy? Where is this lady? How comes
he's not in the constituents?
He's not in the constituents.
Nor are they in Parliament.
And neither are they available in Parliament, you know. And I think it's very important for accountability purposes for the citizens to hold their leaders accountable. And I think the media has done that. And the fact that we live, of course, in a digital age. And of course, for example, with other mediums like Parliament Watch, where we try to bring the Parliament to the citizens. It's very important for the citizens to take advantage of that and to show concern. And come the next election time, they should hold their representatives accountable. They should answer. You are supposed to be in Parliament. Where were you the whole time?
Interesting. Yeah. So some of the reasons, you know, some commentators have given for the poor performance in terms of attendance by ministers is that they have multiplicity of functions. He's a minister, he or she is a minister, a member of parliament, maybe also has a political party position. And because they suggest that they are overwhelmed. Do you believe that, and so they suggest that, you know, maybe MPs should not be appointed as ministers in order to allow them concentrate on legislative roles and appoint only technical persons for positions of minister. As an expert on governance issues, what would you say about such propositions?
It may be oversimplifying the problem. And I think it's a question of priority and, of course, individual responsibility. I agree. You know, there should be individual responsibility. If you feel you cannot perform certain tasks, it is okay to decline the position and concentrate on what you feel you can do. But if you accept the responsibility, then you should show up for it and you should be able to fulfill it. But then again, like I said, it could be more of an excuse or an oversimplification of the problem. A minister at best is a representative. So I don't think because they have a ministerial role, that should take away from their representative role. It is part of it. And then they should be able to prioritize.
The position of a minister adds duties and responsibilities to those of a member of parliament, which means that a minister maybe is now less available for the constituents.
You see, again, I'm probably going to say something that's a bit controversial here.
Yeah.
And maybe which may be in another part for a discussion. When we have members of parliament, and again, when it comes to their performance, where they said, I saw the report where they said some people spoke 100 times, and others spoke 2 times, and others spoke, you know, that varying, you know. I don't think for one to have an impact in their constituency, they have to speak.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree.
Some issues are universal. And therefore, you can be able to front that. So, for example, to Honorable, if she's your colleague, and she can be able to speak about it on the floor of Parliament without necessarily you doing that. You provide the evidence, provide the data, and then she can do that. So again, it just goes back to the question of prioritizing. Do we know our roles? Are we able to prioritize them?
Indeed.
Can we be able to collaborate and ensure that, yes, I play my representative role, but at the same time play my ministerial role? And again, like the rules provide, if you're not able to come, then there's somebody else who can be there in your stead.
Yeah.
Was that taken care of? No, that wasn't taken care of. So why? And I think it's a question of laxity.
Laxity.
And lack of respect for your position, lack of respect for the citizenry, and for people who have entrusted, you to make decisions on their behalf. And therefore, yes, if there needs to be...
Maybe is it also an indication that there's a feeling, a general feeling among these members that they can do it and walk away with it? In other words, the accountability measures
Of course, there's a lot of impunity, yes.
Okay.
There's a lot of impunity. We see it all over the place.
Yeah.
Yes, and unfortunately, it happens by people who have a lot of authority. So people definitely think that, yes,
Exactly.
I can get away with it. And that shouldn't happen.
And I imagine it must be offensive to fully dedicated members like Honorable Rose Obiga who come to plenary regularly for colleagues who are perennial absentees in Parliament.
Yeah, well, you see, just as Doctor has said, this is a joke. First of all, issues that are affecting the community come through the elected leaders. And two, what is paid to ministers is supposed to be a token of appreciation, meaning a small top-up on what you earn as a member of Parliament. That reduces the burden on taxpayers. I remember saying there is a lot in Parliament, even if you're not a minister. But you can still handle. We go to the people and say, you see, if you send me there, I'll be able to do this and that. Now, how come you arrive and then you say, I have arrived, now this other one is too much? Yeah. If we say now, totally members of Parliament should be allowed to do legislative, executive, we should get people of a certain technical people. Don't we have these people in the ministries? Why is it that we have hell of corruption in this country? Shameless people. Whom do you think make these budgets that are passed, or whom do you think implement these budgets? The other day when we were handling the issue of trade, the transfer of things from Kampala to Entebbe, it was all naked.
That is farmer's house.
That they were exaggerated figures. People were picking money from the petrol stations. But that night I didn't sleep. No. Hey, you people, you are pinning the wrong person. I said, you people, you mean you were not able to watch Parliament and pick facts? Nothing but facts. I read the documents. I put my mind there. I stop there. This is an explanation. Okay, tell us how these guys were able to pick money from the petrol station if you don't want us to implicate them. No, okay, that one, yes, we agree. The PS there was wrong. But the rest, oh, it's lies. Have you gone there? You would have seen how she has renovated the place. Real madness, stupidity, utter madness. You cannot believe Ugandans coming to start now battling with members of Parliament. Don't do this. You don't do this. Very corrupt members of Parliament. You have picked money from so and so. Can you imagine? At times you wonder what the community wants. If we are saying members of Parliament keep time, members of executive keep time, stop there. Oh no, you are witch hunting executive. You don't wish well because you want to be a minister. Who told you? You are there. Time for everything is set by God. Wallahi, it is time for you to be a minister. Do your work. You can't give an excuse for not being in Parliament on time. If a minister cannot be on time, whom do you expect to be on time?
I mean, it's very bad, and that's why I think that Ugandans have a reason to be concerned, because Parliament sets, you know, the pace for public discourse, public narrative. Their example has a teaching effect on the rest of the nation. So I think that we should be concerned, and Ugandans, they need to find a solution very soon. But moving
maybe
on,
before you move, a small one. All these ministers travel to Europe, Asia, and so forth.
I mean,
they see good practices.
Exactly.
I wouldn't put them in the same shoes with the ordinary Ugandan.
Exactly.
These ones, they think this is how Uganda is. But how about this one who goes to Canada, who goes to US, UK, comes back and is still doing the same thing? Well, why expose you? Why are you there? Resign. I've never seen people resigning out of shame. Maybe we're going to expect.
That's a nice one. I long to see a day when a public officer resigns over shame.
I'm telling you.
Because honestly. Well, but moving on, Honorable, one of the reasons, the other reason they have given, some ministers, and these claims are from informal reports, that, some ministers feel that they wield no authority at all. So coming to parliament or not doesn't make sense. In fact, Honorable Uganda, the Honorable Representative for Chira Municipality, has claimed that all power is held by the President, and I'm quoting his words, who has held this country at ransom. So that there is a feeling that MPs and ministers alike, even when they come to parliament, their opinions don't matter when it comes to critical decisions.
Occasionally, I think I'm forced to think Semuju is a daydreamer. Reasons, honestly, some things he says, and I think he's not conscious of what he's saying. He knows a lot of business that is handled in that parliament, a lot. Including passing of bills, going through committee reports. There is too much work that goes on at committee level. I can tell you every other day, entities, complaints, what your meeting is throughout. I remember when we were working on the budget of, this financial year, last financial year, I can tell you twice I left Parliament at 2 a.m. But the challenge is you'll be left almost 4 or 5 handling this, and you look at yourself, if I go, who next? There is work. There is work that we do. The issue of the president holding parliament at ransom, I don't know. Because Semuju does not even sit on the caucus of NRM. Yeah, there are some issues he wants to bring out, maybe about State House expenditures and so forth. He has never said this when we are scrutinizing the budget of State House. He sits on Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, where every expenditure of entities and parliament is passed through. Why can't we start from there? How about this corruption in the country, people buying an acre of land at 37 billion, for Christ's sake, on earth? Where? And they want to say we have bought 10 acres at 370. Really? Now, in heaven, there is no small or big sin. All is sin. Yeah, and as a president, did he expect Museveni to be walking by the roadside or taking taxis? You know that in State House, there's a fleet that the president has to use. So if he wants to be a president or if he wants to say something, there's hell of rubbish in FDC. Why can't you clean first your house?
I think that's
and then you come to clean.
Honorable Semuju. What he's arguing is that it's agreeable. Fair. It's agreeable for the president to have a fleet, but it should be a reasonable fleet, shouldn't it?
He's over-exaggerating it. I've just said a simple thing. Right now, his house in FDC is on fire. Why can't he put off his fire? And then he comes and starts talking about somebody's house that is burning. It is not good for you to leave your house burning or you leave your dead body and you go to bury another one. Really, these are shameless people. Do you know what is going on in FDC? And he is able to say the issues in Museveni. No. These are people who are running away from the truth. For me, I want to be honest. Yes, if the budget is so much, we're going to have caucus meeting. Let him bring us the points. Maybe I'm going to read what Semuju said. He should have said it yesterday. And I was chairing a meeting on gender budgeting in health. It's totally lagging behind. It's not getting any money. And it's our responsibility. And I wouldn't have left that and also come this way. Whatever he said, he should once a while have shame. First clean your house before you want to go and clean somebody's compound. Maybe the house is clean, but it's the compound that is dirty anyway.
All right, I hope that Seven will have an opportunity to respond.
Yeah, I'm willing. Next time, call me and him will sit here.
We look forward to that moment. Dr. Hannah, you know, the rules provide, the rules of procedure for Parliament provide that a member of Parliament shall lose their seat if they miss 15 plenary sessions without permission from the Speaker. Yet this has not worked. I remember some time back, I think that the chief whip of the government whip tried to introduce a registration sheet, some kind of a rota for members, for ministers and also MPs after the Speaker's complaint. Yet the vice hasn't gone away. So what are some of the legal and administrative measures that can be taken to really ensure compliance with the duties and responsibilities of both the members of Parliament and the ministers?
Thank you, Harris. Well, I think Parliament should be best suited to discipline itself. Parliamentarians should be best suited to discipline themselves.
Now, prove that they can't discipline themselves. Now.
No, but again, they have the rules of procedure, and the rules are clear, and they have remedy for action, and so it's a question of implementation, and it's a question of political will, and that I think happens, and like I said before, Parliament is a mirror of society, and whatever happens in Parliament will most likely happen in other facets of government. And so that's why you see many times we have laws that have been, constituted, put into place, but then the question of implementation is left to whoever thinks about it. Nobody thinks about that. So, and that's why we keep saying, do we have to create another law if we have even failed to implement the one that we already have? Because then we do not know whether it is effective or not. So I think there's no need for us to give other suggestions when there are already rules of procedure. The question should be implementation, and the question should be political will. And again, yes, it may seem a bit simplistic to blame the president, or quite simplistic for the Speaker to say that, yes, I need to talk to the executive. Unfortunately, it is governance. When something goes wrong, for example, in an organization, they're not going to blame the gardener. Neither are they going to blame the person at the gate. Exactly. They're going to blame the leader for why the organization has gone wrong. So yes, at a certain point, yes, most likely the president may have to be blamed for the laxity of the cabinet and what is going on. Most likely, if he strikes, and
it is the executive.
Yes, if he strikes, yes, they will be present, and they'll be able to come and perform their duties. But then again, the question is, should they really wait for the president to, come and strike and make a ruling and threaten people left and right for you to come and for you to perform your duty? And yet each and everybody in Parliament, in cabinet, is answerable to the citizen. Exactly. It's answerable to the representative. That's who they should be afraid of. That's who everybody should be afraid of. That's who everybody serves. So it shouldn't be a question of, let's wait for the president to say something about it, or for the Speaker to say, yes, I'm going to talk to the president to do something about it. You are adults. But then again, like I said before, it goes back to the citizens, and it's very important that this information is told to the citizens that, look, this is the person you elected, and this is what they are doing. So be careful when they come to you next time. You should ask them to account for the time that they have been in Parliament and whether they have represented you well while they're there in Parliament. There should be, especially when it comes to like a scorecard, right? Those, and it comes back again to civic engagement. Do people actually understand what the members of Parliament are supposed to be doing? Do they understand their roles? And so at the end of a parliamentary era, when we come to the next election period, people should be able to score the parliamentarians based on their roles and to ensure that they actually fulfill those. And if they don't, then put them to task to explain as to why they weren't able to do so.
I mean, constitutionally and politically, speaking, that is the presupposition that the members of the public, the citizens, would track the performance of their representatives and use that scorecard to either bring them back or punish them accordingly if they have not met the expectation. The dilemma seems to be that, according to this kind of theory, is that 5 years between the elections seems to be such a long period of time. If citizens were every time, to wait for the election period to, hold their elected leaders accountable, then a lot of things would already have gone wrong. What are some of the available mechanisms within our democratic dispensation that the citizens can exploit in order to, hold these members immediately accountable? How can a member of parliament, a minister, know that if they don't perform to the expectation, there is going to be a punishment, and that punishment is going to be immediate? There's a sanction, and this sanction is immediate.
No. I think basically just according to the rules of procedure there, when someone misses, a certain number of plenaries, then they most likely will lose their seat. I think the question here is sensitization, and I think that's where civil society now comes into play, because civil society is part of government, and so at some point, that's where civil society will need to definitely sensitize the public on the rules of procedure of Parliament and how Parliament actually works, such that as they keep monitoring, because now we have the media, but then we have the proliferation of now alternative media, such as social media. So through that, and especially now with the report that came out, through that, the citizens are able, therefore, to track the performance of their members of Parliament. If then they find out that they are lacking, then they are able to, of course, anybody has the right to write to Parliament and for any MP to be sanctioned. I mean, that is available within the law. Anybody can complain about a particular member of Parliament, and then, or somebody in authority, and then an investigation is considered. If you're found wanting, then of course the law would definitely be applied.
Fair enough. Honorable, you earlier mentioned something very interesting. You said that in this country, we rarely have officers resigning out of shame. Of course, we know this is a common practice in the West, or say in the advanced democracies, where out of, individual feeling of, I've not performed to my expectation, someone elects to resign. One of the mechanisms available to Parliament, as far as their mandate of holding the executive accountable, is the device of censure. Parliament can censure. Would you be willing to sponsor a censure motion against members of the executive, specifically ministers, that you think have abdicated their duty?
Yeah, thank you. Before I go to that particular point, the fact that some members of Parliament have spoken once or zero or twice does not mean they are not there.
Yeah.
Others come, they listen. reasons. One could be that, we are so many in the house.
Yeah.
I can insist and persist and rise up to 40 times. But there are those who will rise 3-4 times. They're saying, let me just be. It's not that they are not there.
Yeah.
So, two, many people fall sick, by the way.
Yeah.
We have a number of members of parliament who are admitted. People have body weaknesses, others develop it from parliament. There's too much stress and pressure. You finish campaigns and elections today, tomorrow you see your opponents have started the next rally. So, some people like me can contain it.
Yeah.
You find somebody with whom you're in parliament is saying, I hate you, and I must sponsor somebody against you. Now others cannot contain this pressure. So those could be some of the reasons. On censure, one, the speaker has just said, let me talk to the executive. At times the president calls impromptu meetings. Maybe this particular day, these ministers were in State House. Maybe others, yes, others are on official duty. How many were around? So you have to look at the details until when you have really concrete reasons to do a censor. Recently, we censored Namuganza, right? And she's still there on cabinet. We can censure, and the only advantage we have is you will not be able to represent that entity. Like she can't present on the floor of parliament as a minister from lands. Let her present in State House, period. Yeah, but does it make sense? So for me, I think the best is for the president to remind them and say, by the way, look here. You have been given the keys to be a custodian of this particular department. Can you be the best driver?
Yeah, but I think that's very important to our viewers and the Ugandan citizens as a whole. Why? Because remember, we've had cases where a bill is passed by Parliament, and then it is declared null and void by court for lack of quorum. Who pays for that cost? It is the taxpayer. Then, there's a lot of administrative work which goes unattended to because of that kind of laxity. So as a Ugandan, maybe you want to be concerned with how do you recover? How do you recover such kind of a loss because you have employed someone, because members of parliament, ministers hold those positions in trust, in public trust, and they have a legal mandate of fulfilling that trust. So how can, I don't know, do you believe that the existing mechanism, you've mentioned some of them, the rules of procedure, the number of times you mentioned the censure motions, you've also alluded to the lack of willingness to implement them. Do you feel we have a legal regime and nothing we can do about it to turn things around and begin to move in the proper direction, Dr. Hannah?
I think it's a question. I know we sort of belabor the point.
Yeah.
When we say it's a question of political will, and then some people are like, that's all you're going to say. So what are we going to do about it? But it still rounds back to it. It's political will on the side of the executive. It's political will on the side of the legislature. Political will on the side of also the citizens and different bodies to basically ensure that laws that are in place are implemented, are enforced to the latter, because essentially nobody is above the law. And if members of parliament usually are sworn in, and when you're sworn into parliament, you basically are sent to abide by the rules, of the parliament. So you should be held accountable if at any point in time you act contrary to them. So I think for me, it still goes back to political will, and it's about putting pressure on the institutions to be able to enforce the laws. I don't think there's any more we can do.
Fair enough. We are going to take a very short commercial break, And when we return, we shall delve even deeper into the report by the New Vision and the Hansard Department on the performance of the members of Parliament for the second session of Parliament. Don't go away, please stay with us. You can let us know what you think by leaving a comment on our YouTube and Twitter handles at Civic Space TV.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create, and publish digital media or to access and use computers, other electronic devices, and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Before the break, we were looking at the issue of absenteeism in Parliament, trying to understand the intricacies behind it, what informs that kind of a problem and how best it can be handled. With me in the studios is Dr. Hannah Muze and Honorable Rose Obiga. Now, moving on, we are going to look at the assessment of performance of Parliament, members of Parliament, by the Hansard Department. Dr. Hannah, the Hansard Department and the New Vision have conducted a study on the performance of Parliament, the members of Parliament for their second session. And they have ranked the members of Parliament from the best to the worst. And of course, the rank is based on the number, mainly on the number of times that a member speaks on the plenary. Of course, they didn't look into, of course, the quality of what is being submitted. They just counted. They say you spoke the most number of times, so you're ranked the best. You didn't speak at all, so you're ranked the worst. What do you think of the assessment?
Like you rightly say, the assessment does not take into consideration the quality of deliberations, if we may call it so. But it's also one way for you to measure voice. So when you say a member of Parliament has voice, what do we mean? So voice could be expressed essentially in one, having the ability to express themselves, but then two, also, when you express yourself, do you have the ability to influence decisions? Now, that's where the quality of deliberation now comes in. However, the fact that you can express yourself, yes, means that there is actually voice. But then again, of course, the report looks at MPs' ability to voice or to have voice at plenary sessions. They're basically looking at mentions, the number of times someone says something or stands up to speak at plenary sessions. But again, there's a lot of work that goes on in Parliament beyond the plenary. There's a lot of work, actually most of the work that goes on in Parliament is at the committee level. And by the time it comes to plenary, there's a lot of background work that has been done, a lot of deliberations that have been done, and at plenary level, it's a few people that are basically presenting maybe what has been happening at the committee level. So most likely, we would also want to see the performance of MPs at committee level. That will give us a balanced appraisal of their performance, and then that will help us then know, again, whether if you say this one is the best performer and the other one was the worst performer, what was the criteria? Because we cannot just use plenary as the criteria for measuring one's performance. But then again, like I said, it falls short of the deliberative quality.
Yeah.
When someone stands up to speak, what did they say?
Yeah, point of order.
Yeah, they say point of orders, points of procedures.
Yeah.
You know, for us, for us to know that your speech had deliberative quality,
Yeah.
we basically, when you stand up to speak, we have to measure your speech based on a number of parameters. One, when you spoke, was there an argument? Were you able to defend that argument by giving justification?
Yeah.
And justification could come in a number of ways.
Exactly.
You know, could be examples from your constituency, could be examples that are, you know, common to everybody else. The other one would also want to judge, are you speaking in terms of common good? Is there a representativeness in your speech, in your argument? So representativeness basically means that when you stand to speak on the floor of parliament or even at committee level, that the person who is presenting a point is basically representing the people for whom that particular issue is affecting well. So that could also be, for example, if it's a woman issue, if it's a women issue, then is it a woman member of parliament, you know, doing that? Then we're basically seeing representativeness. Is it an elderly issue?
Exactly.
Is it issue to do with other, you know, minorities? Is it workers? Is it traders? You know, not so recently there was the issue of the cat and Mira, you know, bill that was being, you know,
psychotropic substances.
Yes, it's in parliament. So that's what we're actually looking for, to basically see what is the quality of your deliberation. I think I saw in the report where they mentioned something to do with, I think, Honorable Kahinda Otafire as almost being one of those ones that
who didn't speak at all.
Who didn't speak at all.
Yeah.
But at the committee level, he actually had a lot of input.
Yeah.
And actually had a lot of substance that he attempted, at the committee level that he attempted to present. Yeah. So the question is...
And when he was interviewed regarding his, you know, non-participation, he said there's nothing of substance that can be said in 3 minutes.
Yes, one could argue so, but not necessarily so. I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think there's nothing of substance that can be said. I mean, 3 minutes is a long time for you to make a case. Yeah. It's a long time for you to make. It's a lot of time, for you to make a case. Yeah. Again, like I said, what is your argument? Is it in connection to common good? Can you justify it? And once you justify it, do you have rebuttals to your argument?
Correct.
Some of the times if people don't rebuttal you, and if they agree with you, then maybe you're making sense. If they rebuttal you, it's because they're trying to understand what you're trying to submit. So no, yes, I disagree. 3 minutes is a lot of time for you to say something. But then again, plenary cannot be the measure of an MP's performance.
Fair enough. Honorable, as a member of parliament, looking at this assessment, do you think it represents the true picture of what's happening in the parliament?
Well, by the way, some MPs whom you see have not spoken are not also there at committee level. Like if you talk about Honorable Moses Ali, he's very sick. He cannot, you can't tell me he's also at committee level. Just as I've said, people have medical conditions and and I want to agree with Doctor. A lot of work is done at committee level.
Now, before you go on, Honorable, there is a concern, and thank you for hinting on this, about the health fitness of some members of parliament. If a member of parliament is going to be out of duty for a prolonged period of time, then how? I mean,
health is health. You can't negotiate it on the floor of parliament.
No, I mean, if we have 1 or 2 cases, it's understandable. But year after year, you have a significant number of members of parliament who have not attended parliament for a significant part, mainly because of health reasons.
Let it be genuine. Others may be trying to get documents to justify their absenteeism.
Okay.
The speaker should be able to juggle through and see who is genuine and who is not. Yeah, and you know, people always want to play their cards safe. But performance one, 80% of that 11th parliament are new members of parliament. They don't have previous experience. Others have never even been LS1s. Others have never participated in any politics, not even as a class prefect. They're in parliament. And to me, the orientation that was done was not adequate. Yeah. Two, the speaker, you can imagine, has very many people in front of her.
Yeah.
Or him, because we are both the speaker and deputy. And now to catch the speaker's eye is not at times easy, but you must insist and persist. How come me, a new member of parliament, was able to speak over, is it 56 or 58? I didn't know. Terego was busy analyzing in the whole of West Nile. You see, we have a number of...
You're one of the best performers.
Number two.
Number two.
Yes, I am number 2 on performance. And number 1 did not beat me far. Yeah. How did I reach there? And if you go to committee level...
And this is your first time.
It's my first time.
Yeah.
If you go to committee, I am extremely vibrant to an extent. I chair committee sessions, especially when the chairperson and vice chairperson are delayed at times in rules, the committee meeting. The meetings can be so congested. And you can imagine a trust and say, Honorable Rose, please chair the session. Yet I'm new. People are not willing to learn. There are so many meetings, and you find some MPs are in their own world. You see, you have to prioritize. It goes back to priority. Why am I in parliament? Why can't I improve here? If last time you spoke 2 or 0 times, and this time you have spoken 3 times, tell me why you cannot improve. That was a lesson enough. And then you want, last time you said I was sick. So this time what happened? So no MP should say, for me, I do not have enough materials to talk about from maybe constituents, or as in Uganda, because we represent Uganda. Yeah, but people just come, they beat parliament, they go away. Others come, they insist. So it really, I think people should be able to explain themselves. And I also request the Hansard plus New Vision to start capturing committee meetings. Because some people will be saying, for me, I'm at committee level. They are not there.
But well, they're supposed to be everywhere. They're supposed to be both at committee level,
exactly,
and also at plenary. Because whereas, you know, a lot of technical work, due diligence takes place at committee level, but then the very final decision, the binding decision takes place at plenary. So plenary is as important.
Yes, but Harris, you know, we might also be shooting ourselves in the foot to a certain extent, because let's say we had all the MPs present in parliament.
Exactly.
Even just even when just plenary extends, you know, beyond its normal average hours. What is the average number of MPs that could speak, essentially, even just for 3 minutes, if they were to actually do so? Because remember, even if someone does speak, it's not that they're all going to speak about different issues. You know, there's an order paper that everybody has to
speak to,
that they're going to speak to. Some issues will have prolonged debates. Others will have, you know, shorter debates. So it may be a little bit, again, too simplistic of the analysis, you know, for us to just say, well, yes, everybody should
Doctor,
speak,
maybe the question is, level. If Parliament, let's assume that the overall assessment is that Parliament is performing well. I mean, they are legislating, they are doing their oversight work, they are doing their appropriation work very well, and they are doing it with only maybe 40% of members of Parliament. Then the viewer or a Ugandan out there is interested in knowing why then can't we deploy only 40% of the current size of Parliament if we can still do the work of 557 members with only 40% of them, why should the taxpayer incur an extra cost of the 60% when only the 40% can do the work very well?
Again, let's not oversimplify it that way. and it may look like, probably, I also think the larger parliament has an issue, especially when it comes to funding and other logistical issues. But again, let's not oversimplify it that way, that if it's 40% that seem to be doing the job, then probably we don't need the other ones. No, then we would be defeating the role of representative democracy. Because even by virtue of someone being present, they are representing. Because they have to vote on a particular issue. And if they don't think that that issue is in the best interest of their constituents, they will not vote for it. So by their mere presence, that should also be accounted for. Because is someone present in parliament? If someone is not present in parliament and then they're not speaking and they're not at committee level, then we have a problem. Which means you're actually not there.
That seems to be the case.
Then we should have that in then that should be clear and that should be explicit. Yes, in the report, right? And of course that may take quite a bit of some, space or take a bit of work, but that is what is actually needed for us to definitively say, okay, now we need 40% of the representatives. The rest we shall take you back to local government, and the rest of it's like, for example, when we used to have 36 districts, and now we have over 100, districts. If we went back and sent the rest of the representatives to local government level, then the other representatives, the 40%, should be able to pick these issues and bring them to Parliament. But you see, there are a lot of dynamics, that come into play. Like I mentioned again, presence is important.
But I would like to pick your mind on your thought. Whether you believe that the size of our Parliament is too big and therefore, and unjustifiably so. We have 557 members of parliament, okay, including the ex-officials, okay? 557 for a country of about 45 million. Kenya has much less, of course, Tanzania.
Well, justification is also subjective. In a sense, justification is subjective. Because if we're to go by representative democracy and take it as at the simplistic point, which means every district will need a representative.
But
every constituency will need a representative.
But does representative democracy mean, because there are members of the public who believe that there is overrepresentation, does more mean effective representation?
Not necessarily.
Yes.
Not necessarily. That's why I said if we take representative level at its simplistic level, right, then we would actually justify the big parliaments that we have, because the number of districts we have definitely would call for representation from each district. The number of constituencies would call for representation from each constituency based on how the governance structure is of the country. That is justifiable. But then again, that doesn't mean there's no room for improvement and there's no room for downsizing if we finally evaluate and find out that, no, they're not serving the purpose.
Well, let me put the same question to you, Honorable, as a member of parliament who sits there. And I'm, re-emphasizing this question because I know it's one of those that has been occurring in the public domain. How many members of parliament do represent Terego district?
3.
3.
I have 2 constituencies and the woman member of parliament.
Yeah.
For me, I don't mind having these 100 districts, but
Western Nile is represented by about
43.
Yeah. MPs. Do you believe just about 10 could effectively represent Western Nile?
No, you see, West Nile districts are a little large and others are unique. Like Obongi is cut off because of water. It's like an island, and most of the members of West Nile are either 2 all three. Apart from Yumbe, still Yumbe has remained so big, much as it has over, I think, 6 or 5 members of parliament, but it's so big place. Well, for me, if the woman member of parliament can run all through the district, and if the LC5 can run throughout the district, then all districts should be having 2. You know, if we are talking about equality, not equity, let's have 1 woman member of parliament and 1 constituency MP. It can either be both women or whatever.
Exactly.
So long as you are able to perform. But normally, in Ugandan thinking, constituency belongs to men. There are only 10 or less MPs who are, and it's not easy. It's an uphill task. Every other day, the men want to say, no, go back to the women's seat.
This is very nice hearing such a recommendation coming from a member of parliament.
Yes, at least 2. We need. This is too much. It's abnormal.
It would be nice if
in this next coming election, I don't think anybody should dream of creating a constituency. Let's be mindful of the taxpayer.
So if a proposal came from the member of the public and they recommending cutting on the number of constituencies, would you be among those MPs who would solicit for support among your colleagues to reduce on the number of
Honorable Naume had a motion like that, and I was a seconder. I don't know where it died.
Where did it end?
Because it was a motion.
That would be revolutionary, thinking about it.
You remember the whole house, people, most of the numbers come from constituency. Now, when you say reduce it, you are touching somebody's cake. But to be honest, if we have 100 plus districts and we have only 2 members from each, if the woman member of parliament is able to run all through, then what about the constituency? So why would we subject the LC5 and the woman member of parliament to run through? And yet they expect either more or an equal performance from the woman member of parliament. Whatever my member of parliament in Terego East does, they actually expect me to do it twice. Whatever the member of parliament for Terego West does, they expect me to do equally, or I do it twice. So then we don't need to have all this.
Final on this question, Dr. Muze, what do you think are some of the alternatives, parameters that can or should be considered in the next assessment while carrying out such kind of a study?
Yes, I think again, like I mentioned, there's obviously the issue of quality. What's the quality of their deliberations, and that may require a little bit more of an extensive study, or more rigor. But that could also help in us determining whether whoever speaks most, whether they actually make sense when they get up to speak on the floor of parliament. But then, of course, the other thing is also to have a sort of disaggregation of, okay, there's plenary, but then there's at committee level. Yes, what is their contribution at each of these levels? And then I think also we'll probably need to have a disaggregation according to, for example, the regions or the districts or things like that. So that then that enables us to go back to your argument where we're able to tell, okay, if we have in all the regions, if we have 40% of members of parliament who are being effective, how are they spread out nationally? Then that is also a basis for further decision on, okay, then probably the governance system needs to change in terms of the decentralization. Then we do not need all these 4 members of parliament, maybe for each district. Some districts have 5 and things like that. So that data in itself will enable us make more clear decisions and give better recommendations for how the governance structure should be adjusted. But then again, also it helps the citizenry also to know what actually is more effective or not. But obviously, just to add a little bit, I think there's also been a move to try and halt the creation of new districts, especially when it comes from the funding aspect and the administrative aspect, because some districts, even up to now, are operating at almost below capacity in terms of human resource and in terms of also funding, facilitation. Yeah. So it doesn't help, you know, to create more this. And I think that is a very good move. I think that has
a bit was a wrong policy direction.
But with policy, the whole policy cycle enables for evaluation at the end of a period. And so it could be right about time that we now start to evaluate whether this policy, this kind of decentralization strategy is actually making sense or not. And if it's not, then maybe can we have corrective action?
Fair enough. I would like us to conclude this episode of Focus on Parliament by taking a brief look at the rising fuel prices. There's a lot of Ugandans out there who are concerned. Looks like we are going back to the days of COVID. Immediately after COVID, the fuel prices and prices of commodities generally started skyrocketing. Honorable, let me begin with you. From where you sit, what do we know so far as some of the causes of the shooting fuel prices?
Thank you so much. You see, we have talked to the business sector. Yeah, and when they know the new financial year is coming, they want to shoot prices so that they're able to, project and think it's tax. They want to, 2, it can be associated to greed. 3, we're a landlocked country. And for me, lastly, is the Ugandans themselves. You see, when you travel abroad, you find many people riding bicycles. You don't even need fuel. And if you see a bar of soap in Terego, the price can be twice the one in Kampala. And then they say it's because of the transport cost. Are you going to carry a bar of soap just and take it to Terego and then you increase the price? You take goods in bulk. Ugandans are not patriotic enough to protect their country and interests of the community. For me, it needs a total mindset change. Ugandans should love their country and love the people. If we don't love each other, we'll look at each other as a source of money or revenue that we can exploit. Some things don't make sense. You see, one thing prepared in different ways, and you can resolve and remain on one. Some waste in this country. Oh my God. At times when you see how Ugandans can waste, you wonder. They don't mind. They get their money and spend it lavishly and so forth. If people looked at basics, and you put your basics in order and purchase them in a little bulk, and those farmers know where to take their produce best so that they raise money to afford what is there. A Uganda will never want to eat the same food 2-3 days. But go to Europe, food is prepared, whatever you can't eat is put back. But in Uganda, say, hey, where do we get the fridges? We don't have we don't have electricity, we don't have this. But we have a way of preserving things. Yeah, you can reboil it and keep it.
But the fuel prices are determined by fuel companies.
Yes. And the government can have a say on them, even Parliament.
Exactly.
They should be brought to book. Do you know that the fuel paid to me is almost half of what is on the market? From the time I joined Parliament, it started at 2,800, and I think our fuel is either 2,800 or 3,400. To me, it's an insult.
Oh, really?
Yes, we don't get the money according to mileage. MPs are really sweating. If you hear there are 7 MPs in Luzira, members are picking loans here because we can't break even. What is given to us is less than what we are supposed to get. So there is it. You mean these oil companies or companies dealing in fuel cannot be brought to book? They just escalate prices. It's not real. This is not realism. The people of Uganda first should have alternative B.
Yeah.
If you say now fuel is this much, somebody can ride a bicycle. Or you bring your car, you park it, and then here you should be able to walk. Ugandans from just here to the other petrol station or the other corner to have his or her lunch, you want to drive. They're not economical. Yeah, until we shall be pressed to the wall. I also at times say thank you for situations that are very hard. That's when people learn quickly. They're able to do something and do it well. But we should be able to find a solution. When you are experiencing diarrhea, do not take some medicine that stops it. Direct and see what is causing it, test it very well, and then find a tangible solution.
All right.
Don't let people diarrhea until they die because of diarrhea.
I hope that solution is recommended by the medical doctor. But
yeah, but of course, if you just stop the whole diarrhea, then you have not really treated the cause. What is the cause of this diarrhea?
I hear you. Dr. Muze, what are your thoughts on this subject?
Well, just to probably add on to what Honorable was saying, I think it's important also for us to understand that we run a free market economy. Yeah. So I mean the forces of demand and supply definitely determine the prices that of commodities and services in our economy. And I think for the longest time the government has had not much of a say in the control of prices, and that's because of the free market economy that we definitely run. Aside from the fact that it's also affected by global, forces, things to do with the oil, oil-rich countries, and of course the Russia-Ukraine, crisis that also had an impact on the fuel prices right immediately after COVID. But that being said, it also speaks to the nature of the welfare state that Uganda is running, and whether this free market economy still works to the benefit of the citizens. Exactly. But then again, like Honorable says, some other things require a bit of a mindset, change. For example, it may not necessarily be in terms of sustainable transportation in terms of cycling, but what happened to our public transportation system, for example, in the city? I mean, time and again, we've had public transportation, I think buses and systems being frustrated, over and again. But that also speaks to the nature of the governance, the nature of, political will, and that we have. But yes, some of these companies or private organizations could be held accountable, but government also should be held accountable for some of the things that go haywire.
Absolutely.
Without
every time
effort,
there are fuel price increases within the region, we've seen the government of Kenya coming up with maybe subsidies, the government of Tanzania, to kind of shield the people from, facing the brunt of the increase. Yes. Why is Uganda's approach different? Is it that we have a government that doesn't care about the common citizen, or it's a matter of differences in the fiscal policy approach? Yes, Honorable.
You are aware whatever Kenya has been doing here, subsidizing commodity prices, are not long lasting. Yeah. They do it for a short time, they get defeated in their own game. That's why I say, how can we best do this? If it is because we have few companies dealing in fuel, can we increase? Can we regulate them? Can we be there for the people? But it's not sustainable. We have just passed the homosexuality law, and you don't know how much it is impacting on the country. This is just to fix us, pushing us to the corner. We should be able, Ugandans said Parliament passed that law. And I hope they are not going to run away and leave us alone. And the president explained that it's going to come with a lot of
repercussions.
And now repercussions are coming before even they can come fully. Ugandans are saying we don't care about the country. No, these things will come and go. Things come and go, and we should remain strong. That is when we reduce on our expenditure and reprioritize. Go for real things that matter. The nonsense of parties, what? No, you can go and party. But can you now regulate 2 sodas to 1 and a bottle of water and you go home? Haven't you been in a party? You have been. So careless expenditures in this country, those who have. They do not want to look back in their villages. At times, what those people want from us is not our money. It's to tell them, please, during rain season, be able to plant. Plant adequately. Don't delay. Be there for your family. Plant trees, both fruit and timber. It will help you. Sleep well. You see, in Terego, many people want to use the grass. Yet now, because of the weather changes, the grass is more expensive than iron seeds. We should be able to go back and say, my people, try to get 5 or 10 iron seeds.
Fair enough. Our time is fast spent. I am going
thank you.
to allow each one of you just 30 seconds to give our viewers your parting shots. And I'll start with you, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Harris. And I think for me, again, just basically to speak on to the Hansard report about the performance of MPs. I think it's a very good initiative. It's an eye-opener to the public to be able to monitor the performance of their representatives and therefore use that to hold them accountable come the next election period.
Thank you. Honorable Rose Obiga.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Civic Space for always trying to engage me and on the performance of Parliament and ministers. I'll just try to ask my colleagues to improve. Should be able to take business serious. This is our country. We belong to Uganda. Until when you become so patriotic, and you cannot be patriotic by sitting back. We need to be there and seen to work for our country. And if you have performed badly in the previously released reports, I've never been on the other side. I've always been performing. And I want to thank the Hansard team. We have rooms that don't have the Hansard recording. So at least we need these rooms so that we should be able to gauge from committee to plenary. Otherwise, thank you so much.
Honorable Rose Obiga, Dr. Hannah Muze, thank you very much indeed for honoring our invitation. To our viewers, thank you very much for always tuning in and following the conversation. I have been your host, Harris Ocampo, and from myself and the crew, we wish you a very nice weekend. But most importantly, take good care of yourselves. Don't drink and drive.